Today's leadership reading is Temperance. I asked this morning, what does a leader need to know today? The card I drew was Temperance. I smiled. Temperance is the alchemist card. It speaks to integration, balance, synthesis, and the extraordinary intelligence that emerges when we learn to work with seemingly opposing forces rather than choosing one and abandoning the other. It's the yin and yang, light and dark, strength and softness, logic and intuition, ambition and surrender, the visible self and the hidden self. We tend to imagine great leadership as mastery of one particular quality. Be decisive, be confident, be strategic, be resilient, be visionary. But temperance asks a more interesting question. What if your power comes from knowing which part of yourself to draw from and when? There are moments for the sword, and there are moments for the open hand. There are moments when the answer lives in the spreadsheet, and the moments when the spreadsheet cannot see what your intuition already knows. There are moments to press forward and moments to allow something to ripen. The mature leader learns to move between these states without losing their center. This is alchemy, and it made me think about diamonds. A diamond in its rough state is already a diamond. Its essential nature is present long before anyone sees the finished stone. Then comes the cutting. Each facet changes the way light moves through it. The cutting does not create the gem. It reveals what is already there and determines how brilliantly that inner structure can interact with the light around it. And I think our lives work in much the same way. The experiences that shape us become facets. Every difficult season can deepen discernment. Every great love can teach us something about devotion. Every loss can change our understanding of what matters. Every failure can expose an assumption that was quietly running the system. Every season of uncertainty can teach us to listen more closely. It's about how much pressure is applied, the exact way it is cut, the way it is integrated. And eventually something begins to happen. You radiate. I thought about Cinderella this morning too. There is something fascinating about the glow up story because the transformation is often portrayed as becoming beautiful enough, successful enough, polished enough, worthy enough to finally enter the ballroom. But I see something deeper in it. Cinderella was already Cinderella before the dress. The transformation changed what could be seen. And perhaps that is what happens when we integrate ourselves, when the strategist can access their intuition, when the ambitious businesswoman can trust when and how to surrender to her femininity, when the light can coexist with the shadow, because both are needed, especially in business. We spend so much time teaching leaders how to strengthen themselves that we rarely talk about integration. We teach people to become more decisive, more disciplined, more confident, more resilient. Yet there is a deeper kind of power that comes from becoming familiar with the full range of who you are and learning to use each part consciously. Your intuition can see something your analysis cannot. Your intellect can give form to something your intuition senses before you have words for it. Your ambition can build the thing, while your receptivity can tell you whether the thing is actually worth building. Your feminine energy can perceive what is happening beneath the surface of a room long before the numbers confirm it. Your shadow can show you where your greatest vulnerabilities and your greatest untapped power are hiding. This is what temperance asks us to understand. Wholeness creates a different kind of strength. When the parts of ourselves we once kept carefully separated finally become part of the same whole, something remarkable happens to our energy. We become more coherent, and coherence has a kind of gravity. People feel it. They may not have language for it, but they can feel when someone is deeply inhabiting themselves. That is where magnetism comes from. It is the presence you bring into the room. Perhaps the next level of your leadership isn't about adding another skill. Perhaps it's about learning how to bring more of yourself into the room. The rough diamond is already a gem. The pressure reveals its strength. The cut reveals its facets. The facets determine how the light moves through it. And that made me think about leadership again. We spend enormous amounts of time and money trying to polish people. We send them to executive programs. We teach them communication techniques. We give them assessments and frameworks and development plans. We identify the qualities they need to strengthen and then work very hard to strengthen them. But perhaps we have misunderstood the stone. Perhaps the work is less about adding polish and more about understanding the material we already have. Because the same pressure can produce very different results depending on what is underneath it. The same experience can harden one person and deepen another. The same success can inflate one leader, but expand another. The same loss can close one person down and give another an entirely different understanding of what matters. The pressure is part of the story. The cut matters, and so does the hand holding the stone. That is where temperance becomes interesting to me. The alchemist isn't trying to turn one substance into another through force. The alchemist is learning the nature of what is already there, understanding how the elements interact, and knowing what happens when they are brought together in the right proportions. Leadership has a lot more alchemy in it than we generally admit. And perhaps that is why the most magnetic people rarely feel as though they are trying to be magnetic. They've stopped fighting themselves. The light doesn't have to defeat the dark. The feminine doesn't have to surrender its power to the masculine. Intuition doesn't have to prove itself to intellect. The rough places don't have to disappear before the stone can shine. Everything becomes part of the way the light travels. And suddenly, you understand the diamond differently. It was never the darkness that kept it from shining. It was never the pressure that diminished it. It was never the roughness that made it less valuable. Those things became part of the architecture through which the light could travel. The diamond doesn't become extraordinary when it becomes flawless. It becomes extraordinary when it learns how to catch the light.